Hello, beautiful people of the internet. How are you doing today? My name is Jackie and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, I am going to be talking about the top 10 classic books that I want to read. It was a reading goal for me this year to make time to read classics. I graduated from college, so while classic books are no longer on my curriculum, I wanted to still make them a priority in my reading life since there are so many classic books that I'm interested in. I've had moderate levels of success with this goal. I have read a couple classics in my free time, but not nearly as many as I originally intended. So I thought I would film this video about 10 classic books I am really excited to read, and hopefully I will be able to make these a priority in the next year or so. Now, I am not expecting to read all of these books by this time next year. However, I would like to make a decent dent into my classics TBR and have maybe at least 50% of this list read. So let's just dive into this list. They are in no particular order, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section about which of these books you would most like to see me read. Again, no particular order. I think why don't we just start with the classic books that I already own and then continue from there. Perhaps the best place to start is with the classic that I literally just bought, and that's Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray. That's a really great middle name, Makepeace. I just bought this because there might potentially be a readathon going on for this book in 2022, and it is a book that intrigues me. However, it's really long. And a theme that you're going to see in this list is that there are long classics that I'm interested in, but their size really scares me. And because of that, I continually delay picking them up because they're big chunkers. Chunky classics are scary, but sometimes they end up being worth the time and effort. And this book intrigues me because it deals with a lot of social commentary where Thackeray is commenting on the bad behavior of people in high society during this time period. And the main character, Becky Sharp, is intentionally very unlikable. It says on the back here, "I'm no angel, and to say the truth, she certainly was not." So, I've had my eye on this book. Its size scares me, but maybe in 2022 I will conquer this tome with some of you. I think that could be a lot of fun. Another big classic book that I own is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. Wilkie Collins was a very popular Victorian author, and he wrote a lot of mysteries that were a little bit more sensational, so they were very popular during that time period. I am not exactly sure what the plot of this book is. I bought it because it was the Wilkie Collins book that I had heard of the most, so I thought it would be a good place to start. I believe it follows a man who sees a mysterious woman in white, and he's trying to figure out who she is with the help of another woman. Also, for any of you who recently read The Maidens by Alex Michaelides like I did, I believe that one of the characters in that book is named Fosca after a villain from The Woman in White. It says on the back of this edition, "One of the greatest mystery thrillers ever written, Wilkie Collins's The Woman in White was a phenomenal bestseller in the 1860s, achieving even greater success than works by Dickens, Collins's friend and mentor. The story begins with an eerie midnight encounter between artist Walter Hartwright and a ghostly woman dressed all in white, who seems desperate to share a dark secret. The next day, Hartwright, engaged as a drawing master to the beautiful Laura Fairley and her half-sister, tells his pupils about the strange events of the previous evening. Determined to learn all they can about the mysterious woman in white, the three soon find themselves drawn into a chilling vortex of crime, poison, kidnapping, and international intrigue." Sounds really interesting to me, and I've heard many positive reviews for this book. It is, again, quite large. However, I think this would be a good classic to read maybe around Halloween time for those mysterious vibes. So possibly next month I will force myself to pick this up. I am excited to read this, so I need to finally commit to it. And I believe the last classic I'm going to be talking about in this video that I already own is Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy. I actually won this in college playing a game of Victorian novels trivia, so go me. And I've been meaning to read this for a while. The only other book by Thomas Hardy I read was The Mayor of Casterbridge, which was assigned in that Victorian novels class that I was taking. And I liked this. I think I gave it 3 stars, but it made me really, really sad. And I think that's part of the reason why I haven't read Tess yet, because I know it's going to be a devastating read, and that kind of scares me. But I've heard lots of positive reviews for this book, and you know, sometimes it's good to have a nice cry every once in a while. So next up, another classic that I really want to read is The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. I believe this book deals with a woman fleeing an abusive marriage, and I have heard so many positive reviews about this book. I've heard that it really deals with feminist themes in a very interesting way, especially given the time period. Anne Bronte is now probably the least famous Bronte sister. However, she probably enjoyed the most success during her actual life, and I've heard many people on BookTube say that Anne is actually their favorite Bronte, so I have very high expectations for this book. It sounds very interesting. And while we're talking Bronte sisters, I really want to read Valet by Charlotte Bronte. To be completely honest with you, I don't know what this book is about. However, I really want to read it because a college professor personally recommended it to me and said that she thought I would really enjoy this. For my senior seminar in college, I wrote an essay on Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights, discussing how they could be viewed as proto-works of domestic suspense. And after reading my essay, my professor said, I really think that you ought to read Valet. So even though I don't know what this book is about, because it was personally recommended to me by someone who knows what I like in classic literature, I have high hopes for it, and we'll see how it goes. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte is one of my all-time favorite classics, and though I have heard that none of Charlotte Bronte's other books are as good as Jane Eyre, I'm still super hyped for this. Now, back on the subject of big classics that I really want to read, but their size intimidates me, I would really like to read Middlemarch by George Eliot. The only George Eliot novel that I have read was Adam Bede, which, to be honest, I really didn't love. I thought it was okay, but I was kind of disappointed by it. I think Middlemarch, though, is much more in my realm of interest and much more in line with other classics that I have really enjoyed, so I would like to read this. I also think the Penguin Clothbound Classics edition is adorable. Again, though, really long classic, and it terrifies me a little bit. Speaking of terrifying, I don't know if any classic scares me more than The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I really want to read this book. However, it is literally 1,000 pages long. I believe it might literally be the longest book on my TBR. If it's not the longest, it's up there. The thing is, though, I really think I'm going to love this book. This book follows Edmond Dantes, who takes on the false identity of the Count of Monte Cristo in order to exact revenge against the people who ruined his life and framed him for a crime he did not commit. I love stories with revenge plots. It's one of my favorite tropes, and I have heard nothing but positive reviews for this book. Everybody on BookTube that I've seen read it says it's great and it was totally worth the commitment. It's really just the length that scares me off, because this is a 1,000-page book. It is going to take a lot of time and energy to read. I think what I have to do is either in 2022 or 2023, I just have to bite the bullet and start reading The Count of Monte Cristo. I can read it at the same time as my monthly TBRs, just read it on the side. I can take months if I need to. I think getting started on this is going to be the hardest part, but once I get started, I think this could potentially become one of my favorite classics, possibly. Also, on kind of a silly note, when I was in high school, my favorite television show was this show called Revenge, which is basically like a primetime soap opera guilty pleasure TV show. And that show was based off of the Count of Monte Cristo if Edmond Dantes was a woman living in the modern day Hamptons. So that's just another reason why I think I would love this book. Revenge stories just always interest me. Another classic that I totally expect to love is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I have never read Elizabeth Gaskell before, but I have heard so many good things about her novels, and I have wanted to read North and South for quite a while. Someone, I don't remember who it was, described this book to me as the socialist version of Pride and Prejudice, and honestly, just that little description right there sold me. And while we're on the subject of Pride and Prejudice, there is only one of Jane Austen's completed works that I have yet to read, and that is her novella, Lady Susan. I've heard mixed reviews about this one. It follows the title character as she schemes to, I believe, find advantageous marriage matches for her and her daughter. This was also the inspiration for the Kate Beckinsale film, Love and Friendship. I haven't seen that film. I think it's on Amazon Prime though. And even though I've heard mixed reviews of Lady Susan, it is the only completed Jane Austen novel or novella that I have yet to read, and Jane Austen is my favorite author, so this is a major priority for me. And unlike a lot of the other books on this list, I believe this is pretty short. So 2022, maybe for Jane Austen July. And the last classic book at the top of my TBR list, or classic book series if you want to get technical, is the Sherlock Holmes mysteries by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the first of which is A Study in Scarlet. I love reading mystery books, and so it honestly surprises me that I haven't read any Sherlock Holmes yet. Sherlock is the most famous fictional detective ever, possibly. He's a huge cultural phenomenon, inspiring movies, common sayings that people use all the time, and I can't believe that I haven't read a Sherlock Holmes mystery yet. I definitely think that A Study in Scarlet is something that I could probably get to in 2022, and once again, I don't think that these stories are nearly as long as other things on this list, so I think starting Sherlock Holmes in 2022 is a very realistic goal for me. I'm excited to give these stories a try. So friends, those are my top 10 most anticipated classic books. Let me know in the comments section, which of these classics have you read, and which ones would you most like to see me read on my channel sometime soon? I would really like to hear your thoughts in the comments. My social media links are down below if you want to follow me on Tumblr, Instagram, or be my friend on Goodreads. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have a stellar rest of your day. Bye, and I'll see you in the next video.